we confront one of the most insidious challenges for leaders, imposter syndrome. And we are joined by Elizabeth Ntege, who is the Chief Executive Officer for NFT Consult.
Structure around how you make decisions. It's important for us to seek constant feedback on how we are doing, but when you're delivering, put yourself in that person's shoes. And not from your point of view, from their point of view. How are they receiving that information that you're giving them? All they could hear is, I am firing you. They will not hear anything else.
We confront one of the most insidious challenges for leaders, imposter syndrome. And we are joined by Elizabeth Ntege, who is the Chief Executive Officer for NFT Consult. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Oh, thank you, Shamim. Thank you so much.
Oh, good to have you.
All right.
So, Elizabeth, let's start with the basics. Who are you really?
As you mentioned, my name is Elizabeth Ntege. I am the CEO of NFT Consult. I'm the group CEO. And then when you say group, that means more than one, eh? Yeah, so I work in East and Southern Africa. I like to define myself by the roles that are very critical in my life. The first one being I'm a child of God. As a result, I spend a lot of my time understanding what God has for me and what I need to do in terms of service, which leads me to some of the work I'm doing around the faith-driven entrepreneurs, the faith-driven investment. I am actually what I call a faith-driven entrepreneur, or inspired faith-driven. So that my church and the work I do for the Lord is very big in my life. But I'm also a family member, a very big person as far as my family is concerned. I'm married to one man. We have two beautiful daughters, 25 and 19. I'm also a daughter, a sister, and a great friend. So my family means a lot to me. Yeah. Over and above that, as you mentioned, I'm an entrepreneur, faith-inspired, and I run NFT Consult as the group CEO. We are in 12 countries in East and Southern Africa, but we have other entities. I consider myself a parallel entrepreneur as opposed to serial, which most people are. I have not, all my companies are still operational. So over and above that, those are the main areas as a director, as a leader, as a mother, a family member, and a child of God. That is me.
So now, Elizabeth, a lot of conversations around leadership development, transformation, everything you can call it. We see a lot of behavior, a lot of analysis. You just talked about the psychometric tests that enable us to understand who we are as a people. A lot of other ways in which we can support each other. And we know for sure that there are many world-class leaders that are tapping into those opportunities to transform themselves, because at the end of the day, we know, for example, that you as the head influences what happens on the bottom line. So I want you to tell us how world-class leaders navigate the tension between self-doubt and confidence. How can we do that? Because now we notice that imposter syndrome is not just a negative thing. It's also a positive thing. But how many of us know that it's also a positive thing anyway? So we are learning that it's both negative and positive. So how do we navigate the dynamics of confidence and self-doubt? And you can think of it like you're a business person. Think of it as a situation where you are negotiating work with a client. And they perhaps think of a particular number, a very big client. But in your head, you know that, no, I can get this. How do you navigate the element of, that doubt that cripples because you are landing maybe a client that has never been within your radar or within your, within your space, and the confidence to be able to deliver?
That is always a challenge, yeah. But I think as leaders, we need to embrace self-doubt as part of our journey. It's very imperative that you embrace it. But make sure it doesn't get in the way of your decision making. Basically, the paralysis we are talking about, yeah, that it doesn't paralyze you because of the self-doubt. And how do you do this? There are different ways you can approach a situation like that. One is, as I mentioned earlier, put a structure around how you make decisions. A lot of people, like as you're talking about negotiation, do not make decisions in the moment, however much you feel that you need to answer. Go back, get whatever. So when I'm looking at decision making and the structures that we need, I would look at things like people. Do I have the right people in the room to help me make this decision? You know, so rely on other people, counsel, to be able to support the decision that you're coming up. Of course, sometimes when you're in the room with a client, you never get those opportunities, but at least make sure you don't make the decision there again. And then the process. What process do you take in filtering the decision? A client is giving you this. Have you done your due diligence? You know, have you done your due diligence with it? Is this the type of person you'd want to work with? So you don't make decisions like that. I was watching, reading LinkedIn, where I normally read, and the people were talking about VCs, that invest in companies, and how they put in those hidden clauses that multiply the more your business grows. The more money you have to pay them. Yeah? You know,
those are venture capitalists.
Venture capitalists. So you need to be able to read and know exactly what you're signing up to. By following your process, be very strict on that one, of how do we get through that. Secondly, as always, use technology. You know, AI is your friend on all answers.
That one has come. It's not going anywhere.
Absolutely, yeah. Do not make any decision where technology, because technology is so objective. You know, we are very subjective as human beings. Oh, you will put in, I am going through this, I am making a decision with this person, and you will be able to find somewhere on the internet information that will help you make a decision as to whether you get into a relationship, business relationship with that person or not. So those things are very important when you're navigating as a leader. Secondly, we are very good, be more self-aware. Absolutely. Self-reflective. I don't know about you, but I always have this head somebody in my head who's talking. I mean, after an interview like this one, I'm going to say, I should have said this. Then Shamim would have said this, and that kind of thing. We reflect, yeah. But when I'm talking about reflection, talk about the positive reflection, not that person who is in your head, you should have done this, you should have looked this way, you know. So try and practice positive self-reflection. This will help you as far as building your confidence and your self-doubt. Finally, make sure that you put into action, like we were mentioning, setting goals, yeah? Put into action things that will help you in terms of building that confidence. Because the issue is people who have imposter syndrome are also very good at learning, growing, but also one of the things they fear is somebody gives you an accolade. You're like, do I deserve this? So be intentional in achieving those accolades. It's very important that you do. In terms of enter competitions, if they're going to, if you want to be the best CEO, you know, like top 100, please show up. Yeah. If you want to be the person who is supporting community, please show up. You know, and make sure that, you know, social media knows you are. And by the way, I love social media because it keeps me authentic. It holds me accountable. And then when somebody comes and says, you're really doing good, you will not doubt it because your followers will tell you, the people you work with will tell you, and you won't doubt it. And therefore removes all that self-doubt and worrying that you need. But then when it comes to confidence, you have to learn that you don't always have to have all the answers. As a leader, let somebody help you make those decisions and be comfortable make sure that you don't have all the answers. Be comfortable with that situation and then focus on leading other people especially in times when the situation is not predictable. Yeah, that should be their focus. You don't always have to have the answers, and you don't always have to answer right now, and give yourself time, use the technology, the people around you, and the process to make informed decisions. Yeah.
You mentioned something that I really hold so close to my heart, reflection. You know, I find that, of course, now post-COVID, we know that we operate in very uncertain terrains at all times. You might have all your ducks in a row and something happens and takes you back. But amidst all that noise, I would like you to speak to the reflection bit. Because it looks like we talk about reflection, but perhaps we do not know how to reflect properly or positively. How can a leader out there learn how to reflect? You talked about that small voice that tells you, oh, I should have said this. Oh, I should have done this. How do we then turn the tables so people are able to focus their mindset positively to understand how they should be reflecting?
I think it starts with a type of person who seeks feedback. How did I do? A type of person who gets feedback I think is key to everything. You know, as a leader, sometimes they say it's lonely at the top. It's also quiet, very quiet and lonely. So nobody, you don't. When you say you have an open door, you really don't have an open door. Maybe an open window. You know, where somebody who is probably close to you can say, you know what, you didn't do this well, and you did this very well, you know. So it's important for us to seek constant feedback on how we are doing, you know, and actually believe it. There are these things that we do where we have 360. Have you ever done the 360 evaluation where your peers and people you report to replace, but you know you don't have anybody apart from the board that you're reporting, how they are doing. And you've read your report and said, no, these guys don't know me. There is no way, yeah? I wish we could take that feedback. I have been a victim of that all the time, where I'm looking at it like, people don't understand me. I really didn't mean it that way. You know, so we have to look at that as a positive. Get as much feedback as you can, and then act on the feedback that they have given you to change. Secondly, practice. Be prepared for all the meetings that you're in. You know, a mutual friend of ours, Vusi, remember telling us how he stands in the mirror for every presentation and spends hours repeating it, and that in a way will affirm the type of person that you become. You know, so self-reflection comes with receiving feedback, but also understanding who you are, which unfortunately our construct comes from the environment in which you work. You mentioned COVID. Who are you? It depends on the relationships and the people around you and who you hang out with, who you're listening to. Although in your head you're like, I am my own personal person, really no, it's not true. It really is a reflection of the environment in which you're working. Yeah. So it's not an easy thing, but you have to be authentic enough. You have to be empathetic enough to know that you need help. Seek support in trying to get out of your head. And if all health fails, go to a psychiatrist. Lie on a couch. Get somebody to talk to.
You know, all you're saying is echoing back feedback, and you say something very interesting. You know, and I don't want us to dive into that, but I'll just echo it a lot. I think there is a responsibility that we have as leaders and the people that we groom to understand or to train people on how to give and receive feedback. Because you see, those noises that come into our brain sometimes crop up because of the way people deliver feedback. And like you said, it's always about our environment. So it could be that I am saying the right thing, but the wrong way. So understanding how to pass on that message with empathy and ensuring that then you're able to put yourself in the other person's shoes. I think it's an area that we need to work on. Yeah. But what do you think of, there are leaders who don't think that that's their responsibility. What's your take on that? Do you think that we should be responsible in how we deliver that feedback? Because it's the way we deliver it that then crops this whole idea of self-doubt. Imagine that you have an A star that is not good in a certain area, or it's an area of improvement. And then you deliver the area of improvement without even, noticing the other bit of what they're doing well. Do you think that we have a responsibility to deliver that feedback in the right way?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The first thing as a leader, you have to be clear on your expectations from the other person. Don't create any level of self-doubt or gray areas on what you expect from these people. And the way we look at it, for me, issues around the values of my company and the values that I stand for, those are non-negotiable. So irrespective of that, the values just contribute a certain portion to your performance. Any negativity as far as the values are concerned, because they affect your culture, for me is a non-negotiable. How you deliver feedback, one, get the information you need, Sometimes we say, for example, I'm telling you, oh, Shamim, you're constantly late, I need to have, on Tuesday, you came in at 11, yet you were expected at 9. On Friday, so be clear on the data that you have and the information that you give. But it starts from being clear on your expectation to having the information so that you're not making up things. It's not a feeling. I feel you're lazy. I feel you're not meeting these. Really have real concrete evidence, and then it should be appropriate. You just don't find somebody in the lifts and tell them, oh, by the way, I'm firing you, or by the way, every day you're late, what's going on? You need to be empathetic. And we spoke about that in terms of imposter syndrome. People are very self-aware, those type of leaders. But when you're delivering, put yourself in that person's shoes, yeah? And not from your point of view, from their point of view. How are they receiving that information that you're giving them? Otherwise, they will not listen. You're saying that you're speaking, but they're not listening because all they can hear. If you start with, I am firing you because, you should start with the story leading to the firing, because all they could hear is, I am firing you. They will not hear anything else, Yeah, but all is good. If you care about the people, if they're very clear, everything will be okay, yeah. But it's important, and it is our responsibility to deliver feedback in a constructive way, not the other way.
Okay, that's the word, constructive way.
Yeah.
Wow. That is you've just taken us to a learning lane, and I appreciate that. But I wanted you to now take us into an ethnography of your life. For us anthropologists talk about ethnography.
Yes.
We get into that space and dive into. We want you to walk us through a transformational journey. In a moment when you overcame imposter syndrome. That moment, how was it like? What happened? Just give us the story.
Of course, when you talk about imposter syndrome, nobody wants to believe that you have it, yeah? And it's an aha moment for people in that sense, when they find out. Some people will go through their life not knowing that is a challenge, yeah? And I'm hoping that these discussions can pinpoint some of that. I personally went through a situation where I lost a job that was very important to me, as I mentioned, I've always been affirmed as somebody who's doing right and whatever. I've surrounded myself with people like you who are always seeking counsel on certain decisions. So I lost a certain role, And I spent a lot of time trying to dissect. And to be honest, I must say I wasn't clear as to why. And I think that was the biggest challenge. So I spent, it was like, this is gone now. You need to what? You need to move on. And these things are happening as a result of that. I'd never failed that greatly in my life. And of course it includes other people. So I started looking at myself, is it their fault, my fault? Who did what? Who said what did they say? Putting it down, running all over the place, trying to find out why that happened, Then I met a friend, one of the people I spoke to. I said, seek wise counsel. And somebody who knows me very well. And they asked me, Elizabeth, what do you want to come out of this situation? It is gone. Yeah. What do you want to come out of this situation? Because I was all over the place, you know. And that's when I did reflect as to, I don't want to rebuild that relationship, but I don't want to feel this way again for the longest time. I need to get over it, you know. But the crust of this was the fact that I had my identity, part of my identity rooted in that role. And then after I realized that was the issue, because as a Christian, my identity should be solely rooted in Christ and what God means to me, you know, as a Christian. I realized that I had failed as a Christian because my identity was rooted in that role, who I was becoming, like the book Michelle Obama has, who are you becoming? Yeah. And I was so annoyed with myself. And once I got over that, I realized that it was definitely not the other people's problem. It was me who made this my sole purpose, and because I was looking at the things I had done, don't they appreciate what I had done? How come, you know, how did this happen? But then I realized, as soon as I realized that, and that my identity was not rooted in them, everything was perfect. It took me a month, to be honest, of really understanding where I was coming from, how I needed to move on, why I didn't need to get back into that situation, why I didn't need it, why my identity in Christ was more important, and that I was made for better things and bigger things. And to be honest, once that light bulb went on like this, I was able to forgive myself. I was able to build my confidence back. And to be honest, a lot has happened since. I was able to move forward as opposed to being held back by an identity that was of this world, not on things that mattered. Yeah, it wasn't easy, but it happened. Yeah. Wow. But I'm a work in progress. I must say. Yes.
That is so powerful. You know, part of our friendship, one of the things that we share is our faith in Christ. Yes. And I think, and you mentioned something very interesting. You say that you had to think about who you are in what you believe in and the power, the divine that you believe in. And I just thought of something that I do recently. It just, you know, one of those observation moments where you reflect and say, wow, you are actually overcoming this thing. That area of having to overthink something, is this happening? Is it not happening? And lately I realized that these days when things happen, I just say, Lord, let your will be done. And I got to bed, sleep well. And when I wake up and it's gone, I say, Lord, thank you, that wasn't for your glory. Mm-hmm. And I think that as human beings, if we can get ourselves in that space, it's not an easy space to get into. But I think as you do the work, then all these elements of when you have to think about it, did I do the right thing? Did I say the right thing? Then it enables you, because just like you say, as you go higher, it's lonely at the top. Mm-hmm. And the worst you want to experience is that voice that keeps telling you, perhaps you should have done this, perhaps you should have done something differently. So thank you. That is really, really powerful.
I'm glad.
It is really powerful. And I just hope that your team back home can learn from you. Because I think that that's one of the areas where people are struggling, because we tend to overthink things and not pay attention to what is happening around us in the moment. And we miss out on the opportunities because we are busy overthinking what will happen, you know, the anxiety of what will happen, what should have been. Oh my God, thank you. Now, we have come to the end of our interview, but one of the things I want to embrace you for is for sparing your time to share your story with us. Because we believe that at the end of the day, we are leaders and we are supposed to be exemplary, and people are seeing what we are doing and learning from us. And when we go into rooms where we are supporting people become even better individuals and professionals, then we have a responsibility to also be exemplary in the way we live. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Thank you so much. For those of you who are watching from home, I hope that this conversation will give you a better understanding of what it means to live with imposter syndrome. Now, we just learned that it's both a menace, so it will continue to be a pain, but it's also an opportunity for us to learn and understand who we are and the things that are happening around us.